Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Corsair. So, uh, looking on Sarna.net, we do have the Corsair was originally introduced as a means to replace the horrific losses suffered by the Star League Defense League forces following the end of the Armor's Civil War. The compact laser systems and sleek design of the Corsair made it a superior aerospace fighter in an atmosphere rivaling the capabilities that of conventional fighters. It was well protected by 13.5 tons of armor, while 16 single heat sinks kept the all energy weapon loadout from overheating. It carried a fuel load of 5 tons, and its GM 200 power plant could achieve a maximum thrust of 4.5 gravities with a safe thrust factor of 3 gravities. A working prototype of the Corsair had already been produced by the SLDF, approaching uh, Wagner Aerospace, or approached, or gee, let me start that over. A working prototype of the Corsair had already been produced when the SLDF approached Wagner Aerospace for an easy to refit aerospace fighter, which allowed them to begin full scale production within months. Unfortunately, the original V1 series had serious flaws. The fuel tank would rupture when the craft made turns operating in an atmosphere. The landing gear could not support the weight in an emergency landing, and life support systems in the cockpit would easily shatter. While such faults would have killed most other designs, the positive aspects of the Corsair were so impressive the Star League permitted its continuation while Wagner fixed the issues. The fuel tank problem would be corrected in the V2 series, while the life support issues were hashed out in the V3 through V8 series, with continued improvements all the way up to the V12 series. Most of Wagner's Corsair's factories were located in the Federated Suns, and so the Star League fell 5 years after the introduction. After its introduction, Houstavian managed to seize control of them, with the Free Worlds League capturing a single production line on Connaught. Within 5 years of the start of the First Succession War, however, all of these factories had been destroyed. Through and through salvage efforts, uh, Wegner managed to piece together a new line of X or on Exton and keep it open over the centuries of constant raiding. When the Canuck facility was destroyed in the opening shots of the war, only a few hundred had been produced for the FWLM, and this eventually fell into the hands of the Principality of Regulus when the Federated Commonwealth was formed. Debate raged over whether the Corsair or the Lucifer should be the AFFC's standard medium aerospace fighter. And in mock combat trials, the Corsair won more often than not. Weapons and equipment. Geared towards short range combat, the Corsair carries a total of two medium Martel medium lasers and four Exostar small lasers, with two Exostar large lasers giving it some additional reach. Both medium lasers were located in each wing, with the large lasers and two of the small lasers filling the nose. For coverage in the stern, um, the remaining two small lasers were mounted in the rear and tied directly into the targeting systems, giving the pilot extreme accuracy in his rear field of fire. The compact laser systems were also well suited for ground attack role, while the presence of 16 single heat sinks means the Corsair can continuously fire both large lasers and fire the medium and small lasers with negligible heat buildup. So, looking at the different variants that we have, not as many as what we've had on some variants of Mecha and that, but there are a few. We have the V12B, almost identical to the V14 variant. This version used during Operation Klondike removes the standard weaponry and replaces it with two nose mounted ER large lasers, a nose mounted medium laser, and medium pulse lasers on each wing. It also mounts 15 double heat sinks. We have the 12M, also known as the Sandhawk. Uh, a House Merrick design was introduced among the Regulan Aerospace Forces in an attempt to preserve their dwindling numbers of Corsairs. One of the large lasers was replaced with two more tons of armor and three additional single heat sinks, while increasing the craft's survivability. It is disliked by many for reducing the overall firepower. This variant is also known as the Sandhawk in or to house Kurita military units. We have the V14. This was introduced during the early 3050s, with which consisted of a simple refit of the standard Corsair, exchanging the craft's large lasers for large lasers. Also, a pair, or as part of the redesign, its single heat sinks were upgraded to double heat sink capacity. The upgrade came in the form of a refit kit for House Davian. Corsairs had completely replaced all vintage Corsairs by the start of the FedCom Civil War. Then we get the V18. An upgrade to the V14 design, this variant was introduced during the early portion of the Jihad. In addition to the fighter's large lasers, the craft's forward small lasers were removed, and it was given a pair of light PPCs. Ooh, scary. The rear facing ones were upgraded to small lasers, while 17 double heat sinks keep it cool. Finally, the power plant was exchanged with an XL engine, and its armor upgraded to heavy ferro aluminum. Though the outbreak of the Jihad disrupted the distribution of these modern Corsairs, they have since made their way to many of the AFFS units and have received good reviews. Now we have the V20. This variant was introduced by House Davian during the Succession Wars. It replaces the medium lasers and small lasers with SRM6s and ammo. The V20s were typically seen in Davian's 42nd Avalon Hussars Regiment. We have the X12, developed under the auspices of the Rigid Knight project by Paul Snell. During the Jihad, the Corsair variant uses an experimental double XL engine to provide approximately 50% more speed than the standard V12. The existing weapon systems were rebalanced with clan produced pulse lasers, two small pulse lasers covering the rear, while another pair of small pulse lasers and four medium pulse lasers fire forward. The weight savings from the double XL engine allow the engineers to add an extra 5 tons of standard armor. Now we have finally the 12D. This production version of the Corsair Rigid Knight prototype removes the clan spec lasers and the double XL engine. Instead, a standard XL engine provides power to the Corsair, while the weapons consist of a large X pulse laser and medium X pulse laser in the nose, an medium laser in each wing, and another medium X pulse laser covering the rear. A slightly smaller engine provides nearly 90% of the double XL engine uh, of the Rigid Knight, and loss of speed that was thought acceptable. Finally, the entire airframe was covered in 14.5 tons of heavy ferrofibrous aluminum or ferro-aluminum armor. I'm sorry, which provides enough protection for most dogfights. The variant uses a Rander 200B communication system. Now, there are a couple custom variants. Well, all right, there's one flown by a pilot in the Sumas Surus March Militia. This variant of the Corsair replaces the standard V12's weaponry with a AC5 and Streak SRM6. Engine and speed performance remain the same as the V12, but an additional half ton of armor is on the airframe. 3 tons of autocannon ammo. I'm sorry, I'm just having a hard time speaking here this morning. Keep the Corsair Bob in the fight, and the ammo efficient Streak launcher gets 1 ton of ammunition. All right, design quirks. So easy to maintain and weak undercarriage. Okay, so getting a wonderful look at some of the pictures. Now we start off with the, I believe this is one of the original ones that we had gotten in the old 3025. And then we have essentially a mirrored, kind of sharper version of that same picture here. And then let's see. I'm going to take it that this might be from one of the book series. Um, just kind of looking at it, something looks just slightly off to me, but not quite. I guess it is all kind of sitting about correct. Um, but done by AI, and it's a very nice picture. It's just that my eyes trying to put a couple lines together that really shouldn't be trying to mash together. And another nice picture. Um, I'm going to guess this is done back in '99, seeing that it's PLOG, whoever the wonderful artist here is, has very nice artistry. And I believe those are what, Shilohs in the back. So nicely done. All right. With that, let's get on over to our stats and see what we have here today. All right. So this is at Starfighter scale. This is the V12. Now, I don't know what to put down for a length, so I just kind of left that empty. Let's see. We do have the crew of one, no passengers, and keeping in standard with a lot of the other, especially fighters that we've done in the past, we have 45 kilograms of cargo capacity. Of course, we're going to have full coverage. The cost here is 2,293,958 sea bills. Um, Maneuverability, I left it at a 3D, same as what we had from the Sparrowhawk. As I'm just copy paste, so I can just get the base maneuverability, space, body strength, and all that. For our format here, really didn't know exactly how I should really put this. It's a 50 tonner. I left it the way it is. It does have a pretty good speed, so I'm hoping maybe that translates into doing a decent maneuverability. Not saying that always does, so I do understand that. All right, we do have a space speed of 9 because its overthrust is a 9. Um, our atmospheric speed is 111 kilometers an hour. Um, because it's 50 tons, that gives us roughly a body strength of 4D plus 1, if you go by that chart that I had done some time ago. It does have 226 armor points in all. It's 100 or 216 exterior plus an extra 10 armor points, so that's where we get that from. Uh, Weapon wise, we do have the two medium lasers. Fire control, typically I always throw out a 2D. And it's their 4D damage. Actually, let me double check that. Let's see. Um, as I'm looking at my notes, because I did print off that same thing. All right, medium laser. Yep, I goofed that up when I was doing that, didn't I? Okay, these are fire lengths, so it shouldn't be 40. Medium laser is supposed to do 5, so that should put it at a 6D. So I goofed on that one. You guys caught me on it. All right, and then we have the four small lasers. Again, these are fire length, and I did not put out that all together. Small lasers should be 4D, so I think I messed that up on the Sparrowhawk as well. And there's, let's see, we have two front and two rear. So let me change that out here, because that does need to be noted. Let's see. Two for the front. I want to make sure we do have um, or two in the rear. They're going to do the same amount of damage. Let's see. It should be what 4D, so it takes it up to a 5D damage because they're fire linked. And large lasers. Now I know I did this one right because I almost goofed it all up for the range and everything. Um, and that's going to be two large lasers, fire linked, front facing, and again, fire control is 2D and damage is 7D. Uh, Now, with all the different variants that are out there, you can always, you know, like with everything else, if you want to change it, by all means, change it up. That's why that other list is over there. So if you want to throw in the different weapons for the different versions, go for it. I think what I do need to come up with, and I usually end up looking it up on different starfighters, the space speed and what the atmospheric speed should then more or less be. I usually look for different fighters that have that same speed, and that's how I get those numbers. So, one of these days, what we're going to do is we will have to go through all of that and more or less how I'm trying to come up with our maneuverability, because that way it makes it easier for me to try and come up with the stats for it. And if you find something that if you're trying to do this as a role playing game to say, hey, just as a role playing game, you want to do this, which is what I'm, you know, really working towards. Battletech is a wonderful game by itself, but it does lack a little bit on the role playing sense of it, which is why I'm doing what we're doing here. We'll have to just maybe spend one episode just doing that, so that way we can present that, and then anyone else that's doing this on their own, here we are. But we will eventually, hopefully, get to all the other uh, mechs, aerospace, or well, yeah, aerospace fighters, all of our other vehicles, including getting to the drop ships and eventually jump ships as well. Um, the nice thing is because of the scale there, it does help us with going back and forth. So, with that being said, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's always wonderful having you here. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next video.